Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to episode number 13 of the second series of the Stevenage Football Club podcast, hosted by myself and Stevenage supporter Matt Farley, along with other Stevenage fans discussing everything Stevenage, everything League Two, every week of the season. Today, I'm really happy to be joined back because it's been a few weeks. Two fellas, Christmas is gone. Massive welcome back to Reece Donnelly and Dan Keane.
Hello.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas and a happy 3 points instead of a happy New Year.
Hey.
You know what? Oh my God, I just thought of our podcast name.
There you go.
A matter of seconds. It's got to be Merry Christmas and a happy 3 points, isn't it?
Of course it does. Well done.
We're definitely going to come back to bite us when we lose against Carlisle.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. But what a win last night, fellas. Yeah, it was a big win as well, wasn't it? It's huge. Such a big win for the team and the club. How was your Christmases, boys? Were they good?
Yeah, Christmas was all right. Obviously, weird times at the minute, but
yeah, mad.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Wise words from you as always, Reece.
Well, to be fair,
what can I say? I'm the man with the words.
Well, to be fair, my Christmas was just food and alcohol based. I've been training very hard recently. I allow myself 3 days off. Yeah, no, it is, isn't it? It's got to be like that, isn't it?
A lot of alcohol, knowing that I'm a Stevenage supporter.
Well, do you know what? I got two of my best gifts for Christmas. I've got this season's Stevenage red hoodie. I actually do love the red hoodie. It's probably one of the best Borough hoodies I've had ever. But I got the blue one that Revs wears, and I've got to be honest, it's so nice. I'm wearing it now. I love it to pieces. And I got the rain top, and the rain top is the bollocks. I wear it all the time. I've just worn it consistently for the last week. I wore it last night after the win.
He hasn't even washed it either, because it smells like the Lamex, and he hasn't been there. It smells
like the Lamex. Well, you say I haven't been there for a while, but you know, I like to go on adventures whenever Stevenage win at the minute. So when we won last night, I took a little drive to the club. Of course
you did.
So you did to put it
Matt
in the
Charlie at 11 o'clock at night took a drive to the Lamex to see the lights.
I was like, come on, we'll take it. That's a big win.
Players and silly.
Literally. Come on in, fellas. It's been quite a few weeks since we last discussed. We've had COVID in the team, so we haven't played for 2 weeks nearly. We've had a thrashing at Brunton Park, and we've had a brilliant point on Boxing Day and a brilliant win last night. So it's going to be quite fun to dissect all this. And then obviously we've got a really important game on Saturday. Which obviously we're second bottom at the minute, and we're 3 points from getting out the bottom, and we're in this battle now of staying up. We'll quickly go through all of it. Obviously, the loss to Carlisle wasn't ideal 2 weeks ago. Was it the 4-0 loss?
Is your understatement of the podcast done?
Do you know what? It was madness because what were we 3-0 down in about 30 minutes, weren't we? It just all went apart so quickly.
Yeah.
It was a mess, and it was inexcusable. It's one we saw coming from the beginning of the season. We mentioned it in previous podcasts and before we started recording today that it was always coming. That we were going to have a pasting, and hopefully that would be a wake-up call in many senses, and it seems to be so far.
Yeah.
2 positive results against 2 top 10 sides. So hopefully we'll kick on from, hopefully we leave that 4-0 behind us.
Yeah, for me, I thought the tactics were just kind of, I don't know what was going on that day. I remember seeing Romeo Hutton near up front, and I was like, what is going on here? But do you know what?
It wasn't just tactics, and that's not me defending Revs, because the tactics were awful. It was just everything was wrong, and we were lacking confidence, and they were a side full of it.
I think what I've been...
and it was fully deserved as well.
Yeah, I think what I've been really impressed with, though, we went there and lost 4-0, but to obviously have the COVID situation as we've had, and we've come back from that, and we've got 2 really positive results. A cracking 1-1 draw on Boxing Day away at Cheltenham, big point, and then obviously a really big win last night for us, obviously putting us on 17 points off the bottom. That's what's really impressed me. We've responded with 2 really good results as well, and I think the thing that I'm really happy with is, we lost to Carlisle. They were currently 4th in the league. Obviously, one of the best home forms as well. We've then had the break. We've then gone to Cheltenham, who are then 4th in the league, and we've drawn 1-1, and we could have nicked the game. So the improvement from the Carlisle game to the Boxing Day game against the team that are actually currently in the same place, I thought that was a really big positive, and I think that did a lot of confidence for the team getting that result on Boxing Day as well.
Yeah, I think the 2 weeks probably allowed everyone, including Revs, just to sit back and take a review of the situation and things like this. And then, obviously, Dean Wilkins has come in.
He's made a massive difference to me.
He's making a difference. I can say we certainly look more organised in recent games. We look more like we have a plan. We're setting more traps for the opposition. But yeah, I think that break was good for everyone just to take a sit back. Momentum was dead from then, so no good or bad momentum. Confidence couldn't take a hit. It was just a nice, peaceful 2 weeks, 10 days, whatever it was, to take a review. And I imagine they're saying much of the things we're saying, in the fact that we haven't been that bad. We clearly have a good defence. It's about building from there. All the team are confident. It would appear that we can get out of this situation, and I'm hoping that's been reinforced now.
Do you know what? I think the introduction of Dean Wilkins has been very evident. I think the Boxing Day game, and most notably actually last night, I could see a massive difference with how we set up. But I just said to you boys off record, I really believe our Stevenage can stay up this season. Last season, and I never really thought that it was a team of individuals, and I just didn't, we were cut far adrift, and I didn't believe it. But this season, with this Stevenage team, I really believe we can stay up. You look at the stats, and holy hell.
Yeah, I didn't really have hope last season. I know I probably said otherwise, but that was more wishful thinking than an actual mindset, to be fair.
Sometimes we all have our fan hats on, don't we? I think if we all took a look in December last year and when will we stay up, everything would suggest no. Whereas we look now, I look with my analytics football head on, I look at it with my fans head on, and I look at it blankly, and I've been confident throughout, even after the battering at Carlisle, that we will stay up. I don't think we've got a team.
You had more hope.
I don't think we've got a really good team or anything, but I think we'll stay up. I think.
Well, this is it, right?
So many signs in which we're good enough.
Two big things for me, and the first thing is the stats, right? And I just said this to you boys off the podcast on a conversation. I'm going through them now. Obviously, the form in the last 6 is really positive. We've only lost one game in the league, and things, we've got some points behind us in the last 6 to 8 games. The defensive record, we've played 19 games. We've conceded just 21 goals, which is a great stat for us. Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's a great record. Currently, I've just got it here, 5th best in the division. A cracking record. The only thing to me, I look at the team and said, defensive record's great. You don't get relegated. We don't get relegated on that defensive form. To me, with the team, the defence looks great. Goalkeeper looks fine. We've got a lot of players across the middle now. Maybe there's room for 1 or 2 to come in, possibly. But we've Pet and all of those players.
4 or 5.
Yeah, I think it might be more, but we've got a lot. The only thing that really comes to mind for me that has been a problem is just the goal scoring. And I just said to you off, we're bottom of that chart with just 13 goals. But if we'd have actually scored about, let's say, 5 or 6 more goals in some of the games, we'd probably be mid-table. So for me, I look at the team, that's the only thing that's been wrong. It's not like we're sitting here and we're going, the defence, we're leaking goals, we're not scoring, the midfield's useless. It's not really like that. The defence is great, the midfield's coming along, it's just been the goal scoring. So for me, that's kind of really been the only thing where we've been really pouring, to be honest, if I'm being completely honest.
I don't know. Yeah, I think we've only scored 2 in a couple games this season. Well, we're counting league. I think we've done it twice. I think it is. I might be wrong. Port Vale and Oldham, and I can't think of another one. But we've only done that a couple of times. But I guess we are scoring a bit more now. We're consistently getting one. Obviously, Carlisle was not count that. We'll ignore that. But we are getting consistent goals where we're definitely out of the rot of not being able to score. And with Aitchison coming back and hopefully some decent bodies coming in January, it only makes sense that we'd kick on. Because I can only see us making attacking transfers or bring it I don't see why the defence needs any more backup or any changes at all. I think in that area we are sorted. I know I've been a bit on and off with and we all have with our fullback situation this season, but some of the last few games have proved that they are good enough, and we'll only hope that keeps up.
Yeah, well, Lily's been thrown into the fullback situation now, hasn't he? And we've got these players now which can play 2 roles. Charlie Carter now looks like a half-decent striker. I'm not saying don't sign a striker now, but there's these players that are finding new roles. Tyrone Marsh has looked like a decent attacking midfielder when he's on the ball.
I think because we had such a new squad coming into the season, and bar a few players, handful of players, it's completely brand new. I think it's been very difficult for Alex Ravel to know properly strongest 11. He throw a few injuries in there as well, and it takes a few players out of the equation. I don't think he's really known his strongest 11, but for me, it's very clear with Jack Aitchison coming back, who I thought was great on Boxing Day and, earned us that point with a really good goal, played well again last night. And last night, I actually, for the first proper time, started to see somewhat of the strongest 11 with the team. Obviously, there's a couple of players that could come in and, play in that 11. But for me now, I almost feel like Revs is starting to get, here we go now, with Jack Aitchison back fit, Tom Pett fit, Charlie Carter back fit now, hit a bit of form. He's starting to somewhat mould a stronger 11 now, and I think that's going to be a really big difference going into the second half of the season to what we've had in the first half.
Well, a huge thing for me this season has been our ball retention and our pass success and things like that. And to be quite frank, they haven't been very good. But these last 2 games, it is very, very good. And it's no coincidence that happens in the team with Jack Smith and Arthur Reid. But if you keep the ball, you're more likely to be able to do what you want with it, and it's as simple as that. I think our ball retention on Saturday was at its highest it's been all season, and it's small little things like that make such a big difference to how we play.
I agree.
Our expected goals and assists is now 1.4. Obviously, we're getting 0.6 a game at the minute, but I can say this from an analytics view, that won't remain the same. You can't have double, if that makes sense. So we've got 0.6 and our expected is 1.4. It is more than likely going to raise from 0.6 as a result, because you just can't have that many shooting positions and not score goals. It just doesn't happen.
Do you know what?
We are getting ever closer, but I think we all know what we need, and that's A, to score goals, and B, probably to find the goal scorer.
Do you know what though? I think I just said to you off the podcast. Football's a really funny game. It's like how do I say it? There's such and it's not just our league, it's football everywhere, around the world, everywhere. There's such a pressure on results that I think people forget the amount of time that this team have actually had together as a group. And in the grand scheme of things, we're sitting here at Christmas, and normally the players would have had about nearly 6 months. But I think we all forget that actually, in terms of, I know League Cup was the end of August, but the league campaign actually started the 12th of September. So if we actually go on record, October, November, really the team have only had about 3 months and a bit, which in the grand scheme of things isn't hardly a lot of time at all. All right, there's been quite a lot of games put into those 3 months because of the coronavirus, but that's not actually a long time. And I know it's hard to say because we want to see Stevenage win matches, but unfortunately with the project that we're building and that we've built to some extent, it takes time. And unfortunately, I know that I say we've got to be patient for things to start to click. And I know that's such a difficult word to throw out there because, in the division we're in, patience sometimes can work against us. But I think with the team that we've got, I really do see around this time things starting to work out. And okay, it's been 3 months of tough stuff, but I think that with this team, because we've got some really good players like Jack Aitchison and Tom Pett, when the formula clicks, I think it will click. And hopefully with the win last night and a few good results before Carlisle, hopefully things are starting to turn around now, and it's taken a bit of time for us to get to this point where we start to put points on the board and we start to improve. I really see us improving. Again, I really see us staying up this season.
You'll read Twitter and things like this, and you'll think we're having really bad form. We're bang on mid-table in the form table, and we've had 1 loss in 7.
It's not.
You take that every day of the week. Okay,
yeah,
we do need to win games. There's no doubt about it. But as we said, we will get there. We're not. This isn't us saying we're going to win loads of games. We're going to make a late playoff charge because, quite frankly, we're not good enough.
We're going to be realistic about it.
We're nowhere near that level. But if you can't see signs of improvement as we're going on, then you have an agenda, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
it's quite clear in terms of players' personal development, in terms of Revs as a manager development. The man's been a manager for 6 months.
Yeah, I completely agree. Right, we just had this chat as well. We played 19 games. We've got 17 points, 3 wins, 8 draws, 8 losses. That means for 11 games, over half, we've got a result. So, normally the teams down the bottom, I'll take Southend, for example. They've lost 12 games out of 20, right? They've lost 12. Normally when we're in the bottom 2, normally the teams have lost 12 games, 13, 20 games. There's quite a lot of losses there. But for us, for 11 of the games we've played, we've been competitive and we've got a result. And let's be honest about it, a lot of those draws could have been wins as well. So, it's not like... We've been saying this for months. The stats suggest that in time we're going to get better. And I think that's quite apparent. And if you look at the form and you look at the, even the goal difference, we sit in second bottom. We've got -8. Southend have got -20. Grimsby have got -17, the 2 teams around us. So the stats suggest that we're going to get better. And I really believe that, Revs isn't experienced in the sense where, before this job he hadn't managed the job. But the great thing about Alex Ravel now is he's had 3 to 4 months in the job. So he would have learnt as well. And I'd like to think that Revs will get better as a manager, which I think he is. And with the appointment of Dean Wilkins, I think things are looking up for us. We've just got to keep winning games now. And again, home form. We've won 3 games at home now. We've got 11 points at home. That's really important for smaller clubs like us to use that home form to give us points to stay up. So I think things are slowly but surely turning. Obviously, we're not out of it just yet. Obviously, we've still got to win games. And the great thing is we've got 2 games in hand as well. So I think we'll do it this season. I think we'll be okay.
I do just think we need. I think I might have already said this, but we need to prove that it isn't just a streaky bit of form in the middle of the season, which a lot of teams get, because I think Southend have proved they aren't as bad as they have been majority of the season. They've picked up a few wins recently, and I think we need to do the same. And obviously we had a much better a point advantage than they did earlier on. So I think if we do get that, even if we need a decent run, not just a couple of games scattered about like here and there. We need decent run, get a decent amount of points, and make sure we're out of the relegation zone. Well, I know it sounds stupid, but as soon as possible. Just need to. I don't even know.
Wins breeds confidence, don't they? And it's quite clear to see we have quite a few confidence players. The more wins we get, the better we'll play. You'd hope, or so we might see come Saturday, but we aren't going to suddenly become this really, really good side, but we are capable of beating teams in this division, as we proved.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. We've got good enough players to win games.
Wins, like 6 to 7 wins. The players still need to prove themselves. They're playing for their careers. The hard bits appearing to be over, but we just need to get over it.
This is it.
So we need to know it's over.
Yeah, this is it for me. Obviously, the win last night was so big in terms of the point, in terms of the team to get a point and then win. But the great thing is now, we've got 19 games and we're on 17 points. Obviously, a win Saturday, 20 points, 20 games is actually, I think, quite positive given the first half of the season. But this is my point, 23rd game's the halfway mark, and we've still got 4 games to that. If we picked up a couple of wins, right, so if we won Saturday and got up to 20 points, and say we beat Tranmere at home, which is again a winnable game at home, so if we can get from 20 to 25 points by the halfway mark, for having 2 months where we didn't win a game, to be at that point gives us a really good chance to stay up, because I'd like to think that our second half of the season would be better than the first half, because we didn't score a goal from open play for 2 months nearly, and we didn't win for 2 months. So I'd like to think that we will get better as the games go on and as the team play more games together, and I think that's starting to come clear now. And if we can get to that point and get up to near 20, 25 points for the half mark of the season, we give ourselves a very good chance. It's not like last season where we're stuck in the Duddams and it's like, Jesus Christ, we need like 13 wins here. We only need a handful of wins, and I think we give ourselves a really good chance to do that after that big win last night.
Yeah,
I honestly think if we do get that good streak of wins, I actually know what I'm saying now. So if we do get that streak of wins, then that does put us in a decent position that we can afford to take a hit of bad form, because I don't doubt that we won't be perfect for the rest of the season. And if we are, then I don't know. I won't know how to react, but it will be inconsistent. And as I think they say, progress isn't a steady curve. It's not straight. It's not straight up. There will be dips in form, but honestly, if we just need to keep this sort of form where we're losing 1 in 6 and picking up the odd point, and I think Mansfield are in the same position as us, because they've won the same amount, but they've drawn 11. So I think they'll be talking similar things as us, because if we win, we'll be on.
Yeah, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on this Stevenage team, because I like to think that things are starting to look up now. But again, it's been 3 months, and in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of time. And we've all spoke about this project for our Stevenage Football Club, and we've spoke and said that it's going to take time. And I really see a lot of potential with this team, a lot of good players in the side. Again, I see a lot of potential. And I think that if we can stay up this season, and that's the goal, whether we finish 22nd as long as we keep Stevenage Football Club as a League Two football club, which we want to see next season, I think for the seasons and seasons after, we might actually see our Stevenage being successful again in League Two, because you look in the past and you go to the Stimpson days, and even the days before that, the Fairclough days and the Wesley days, and even the Darren Sole year where we built that team and we looked a really good little side. The teams that are a together group and have a unity at our Stevenage Football Club are always the teams that do well, because we don't have the money to go and buy all the excellent, we're not, but all the big time players. It's very important for small clubs like us at Stevenage to build a together group, and that's what made that Wesley season so good, because those players were so together and it was a family. And I feel that if we can get through this season, stay up, a lot of these players would have all played together for a year now and would all know each other and know how each other plays. And I actually think going forward we could build quite a special thing here at our Stevenage Football Club, and again, that's why I reiterate the season's so important for us to stay up, and if we can do that, I think we'll go on to be very successful. But look, it's good. Again, the work's not done. It's only 19 games. We're coming into the halfway point. We've given ourselves a chance for 17 points. Keep winning our home games and score a few more goals, and I think we'll do just fine, to be honest.
What I like especially about this team is they work for each other. They work hard, they're fighting for each other, and sometimes you've seen it with teams like Big Sam Allardyce's. If you work for each other, sometimes that makes up for your lack of technical stuff. We knew it was a project when we appointed Revs. I think we are moving forward. And ultimately, right now the squad isn't where it is to do massively better, but we've got a solid space to build from.
I think we're better than where we are at the moment. We've proved that, because you don't do that against the teams we have last two games. You don't draw with they're fourth now, but you don't draw with who were second and then beat 8. Both pretty comfortable games. You don't do that if you're an awful team.
Yeah, I've seen small improvements. I've seen improvements in the players themselves, which is ultimately the point of your coaches, your Sampsons, your Wilkins, your Rebels. These players are improving in terms of their football intelligence and in terms of what they show off. I mean, some of Jack Smith's runs into the box in the past two games have been really, really good. I mean, we scored from one of them against Cheltenham. But small little things like that makes such a big difference. And
to be completely honest,
those are the things I'm seeing that's making me believe that these people, these coaches are doing the right thing with them, and why I currently believe in the management, and why I believe we're good enough to stay in the division. Yeah,
I have watched, like everyone else, I've watched every game this season, and I have seen glimpses in certain games this season, little glimpses that I actually liked. Obviously, the performances right at the start of the season were positive, and even if we want to throw in there the pre-season stage as well, positive signs. Obviously, there's been some real crap games like Colchester and Carlisle, but the performance at Harrogate was a massive positive, and we should have probably walked away with 3 points. There's been glimpses in games. Even the Forest Green game, we were missing real quality in the final third, and therefore didn't create anything. But in that game, we were competitive, and in the second half, for the last 20 minutes, we were the team pushing to try and score a goal. So there's been glimpses in certain games, the FA Cup games, Hull City. There's been glimpses where we've shown really good stuff. And for me, I've seen a real improvement probably from the midway point of November to now. I've seen an improvement in the team. And I think we've seen that in the results as well, where we've picked up a couple of wins and we've picked up a couple of draws as well. So I think the team's going in the right direction. We've obviously given ourselves a good chance in the league table to get out of the position we're in. And try and make a stay up. I can actually see if we can. Look, January, we've just gone through it. January and February are actually quite good months. There's a couple of tough games in there, but there's some winnable games in both of those months as well. But if we can get a couple of wins behind us and try and get another win on Saturday, I wouldn't be surprised if we went on a little run of games where we saw a few wins and a few draws and we started to climb the league table a little bit. Not too high, but climbed out the position we're in. I wouldn't be that surprised because the one good thing we've got is potential. And we're not sitting here right now going, I don't see us doing this. We've got players of potential. We've got Jack Aitchison, we've got Tom Pett, we've got Ben Cokin, and they're not players that get relegated from League Two. Aitchison and Tom Pett should be playing in the league above. We've got a good base. We've got a good platform. Any sign of a good team is a good defence. Luckily, we've got that. So I think things look positive. And with Dean Wilkins, and I think we've seen an improvement since Dean's been here as well. I'd like to think this new year and these 2 months coming up are 2 months where we can pick up points consistently and get ourselves out the position we're in.
Yeah, because I was just saying, obviously the thing that since Wilkins comes in, we have met, it has been a difference. So I've just looked at the passing success rate. I was just looking through the stats of TVC last night, and the 3 games he'd played before. I know he'd been in and out of the team, but 3 games he played before. So Carlisle, Harrogate, and Southend. Pass success rate highest was 46%. Last night and Boxing Day, they were way above 70%. They're 75 plus. So if that doesn't tell you what you need to tell you enough, then there you are.
I said it. I think we found our. I know that obviously there's a lot of games and there's going to be switch ups from time to time, but to me, I think we found our centre back pairing, in my opinion. Scotty with Terence, I thought they were great on Boxing Day. I thought they were great last night. Again, Terence last night was immense. It was his birthday as well. So to put that performance in your birthday is a pretty good one. But that block in the last minute. But those 2 guys that we were marking last night was it top goal scorers in Europe? And we kept a clean sheet.
Paul Mullin is the top goal scorer in the whole of Europe.
Yeah, and I didn't even know he played. I completely watching the game. I didn't even realise.
And TVC just put him out of his pocket.
Yeah, I know there's debates on the full backs, but for me, I like that as our back 4. To be honest,
I think the full back pairing changes on who you're playing. For example, would you play quite? Not saying he's useless attacking wise, but Ben Coco, who's quite defensive, gritty fullback against the Southend, probably not. But I think we all was a bit concerned about Coco last night when we saw the lineup, and yet he was outstanding. I
thought he was great. He was one of the players when we went to watch live again. He was one of the players that I was pleasantly surprised with because on the iFollow, it's very difficult to see the players perform properly. But when watched him live, really liked him, and I thought he was great last night. To be honest,
I mean another quick thing with the impact of Wilkins. You heard it when Jamie Cumming was about to go short, like he's probably done for Chelsea 1,000 times. You could hear Wilkins shouting. I mean, I don't think we needed the iFollow. I reckon we could have heard him without it, but we wanted Jamie to go long, and because of the lack of pace that was in Cambridge defence and how Danny Newton plays and how the defence line got stretched, which was a bit of a dodgy back line from Cambridge, it meant we were the team with the kind of attacking momentum. We were the team with the chances. It made such a big difference. Dan mentioned with TVC, there was a TVC Carter link-up, which I loved. That was amazing. There was a few times TVC put Carter in on the inside, and it's just those small little link-ups.
Yeah.
Smith and Reed had a really good partnership going and understanding.
Do you know what? It's probably the first time, probably since Mark was in charge last season, where we got a few draws and it was like, oh, okay, we're starting to pick up results here. It's probably the first time I felt about probably the last year and a half where I've kind of gone, oh, here we go. We're starting to get somewhere now. We're starting to properly look like a team with a formula and some good tactics. It's the first real time I'm starting to think, here we go. We're starting to see much better stuff here. We're starting to see better football. We're defensively great, but we're starting to look much better. It's the first real time I've seen that in the last 2 games, and not just last 2, even before that as well. The win against Port Vale and the draw at Walsall, even though it was a last-minute goal, we were still winning that game, and they were positive. I'm starting to be really positive. Probably the last time I felt like that was when Mark was in charge and we picked up those draws, didn't we, in a couple of wins. And it was like, we're starting to get some now.
I think, that's the only time I felt positive last season. And, it's around the same time as it was last year. But with him in charge, we had this form, and that was after we changed. We haven't changed anything, and we've managed to pick up this form. We've shown signs of it previously, but it's obviously never come of anything.
And that, for me, is
massive,
because that's why we stuck. We didn't twist like we did last year. We've stuck by it. So now we've done it. We've not made the same mistakes as last year, really.
Because the thing is, this should happen as well. And Alex Ravel should be improving as a manager by this point. He's had nearly 4 months in the job now. Probably, as I said, this probably one of the toughest jobs in the Football League, given our position and budget from the back of last season. So, he's starting to be learning a lot more as a manager, and he'd probably learn a truckload of stuff from the opening 4 months.
I think he's had a whole manager's kind of.
Well, this is my point about him. If we stay up,
problems.
This is my point about him. If we stay up, we've packed ourselves a bloody good manager who's had to do a lot in his first tenure as a manager. So, but as we know, fellas, going forward, obviously a massive win last night, and it was brilliant to get up to 17 points after going bottom after Boxing Day. The 2 months we've got going ahead, we're coming into the second half of the season now. We've got a huge game, 2 big games coming up at home. We all talk about as a small club, as our size at Stevenage, we need to pick up points at home. It's very important. Another big game for us on Saturday, where another win, 20 points in 20 games, point per game, it really puts us in a competitive position to catch up those teams above us. Team for Saturday, and a quick discussion of it, because it is a big game. We're playing a team down the bottom as well. Gives us a very good chance of getting 3 points. We want to see more of the same. And we're in a position now where I can really see some improvement, and I can really see an avenue for us of improvement where I think we can climb out the position we're in. So this Saturday's Scunthorpe at home, 20th league game. Let's go through it. Team selections. I'll start with you, Reece. What are you choosing for Saturday after the big win last night? And why are you choosing the team you are?
See, we talked about this off the record about going with the same team and building an 11. There's quite a few players who have done Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, who would be doing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. So I don't really know about fitness. I imagine Louis will be back in the squad in some shape or form for Saturday. But if we can, same teams for me, I quite like Aitchison and Carter's kind of switching. But yeah, I would stick with the flat 4-4-2. Maybe if it's needed, I'm not sure how Noots' fitness has gone. Obviously, we have to be careful with Noots because we know he can be a bit like bubble wrap. So, for me, if there had to be a change, it would probably be Listy for Noots. But I mentioned for Noots last night, who I thought was absolutely sensational in terms of how crucial he was to us getting 3 points. But yeah, for me, same team if we can. But yeah, if there was a change for me, it would probably be Listy for Noots.
Listy for Noots, same team. Really good to hear that, mate. Dan, what about you?
I know it sounds boring, but I'd probably say the same thing. I don't see why.
Great mind, Dan. Great mind.
Oh, equally bad one. Yeah, I don't see why there needs to be too many changes. I could maybe see Louis back a bit involved because we know Coco. I don't know whether he said it about him or knows his legs can be made of glass. So he might be a player we need to preserve a little bit. So maybe bring in maybe put Hutton on the left and Luther on the right, or even drop Hutton, put Louis on the left, and bring in Luther on the right. I'm not too sure, but I don't see why much else needs to be changed. Obviously, unless there's any injuries or any sort of cases.
Very rare we've said that about Stevenage game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Bloody hell. I think for me, I would stick with the same team, to be honest with you, but I would look to give Danny Newton a rest, because Newt has been absolutely brilliant for me. He's had to run a games. He's got a goal in the bag. He's won his headers. You know, I read a stat out to you boys earlier. He's had the most shots in the team this season. But I'd give him a rest, Newt, because he's worked so hard and he's coming back. He's his first season back since injury. So considering it's Saturday, I'd give him a rest. And I'd keep the team probably exactly the same. To be honest, I keep the back line the same. I loved watching that back line play last night.
I think there might be Scott, who's just come back from injury too, hasn't
possibly,
he?
Yeah.
So possibly watch that one, but yeah,
possibly a change. I liked what he did with Aitchison, and I liked what he did with Charlie Carter, and again, Aitchison's for me is such an important player in this survival. Him, Tom Pett, those type of players are really important because they've got such good quality. They'll score goals and they'll create assists and they'll create chances and they'll win points. And in terms of our survival, those players have to play. So for me, I'd keep it the same, and I would rest Danny Newton, and I'd actually start Remy Ote on Saturday, and I would give Remy Ote some minutes. Hasn't started for a few games. He's come on. I'd give Remy some minutes. He's our top guy. He's got 3 goals. He's got 3 assists, and I'd give him some minutes, and then I'd probably swap Remy with Danny Newton, just like we did the other night with 15 or 10 to go. But I'd give Remy some game time on Saturday, and I'd give Newton a bit of a rest, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see Ote coming in. Yeah, I wouldn't say no to it. I'd say one of him or Listy will come in for him. I'm not really too about either, if I'm honest.
Do you two continue with the flat 4 we've played against Cambridge and Cheltenham, or do you go back to the diamond?
No. I do you know what? I scrapped the diamond. I stick with what we did on Boxing Day and last night.
The flat 4 we seem to be keeping the ball better with the flat 4. So.
Yeah. Do you know what as well? Do you know what? I didn't mind the diamond, but what we played at Carlisle that day was just so far off the level. And obviously I know Carlisle's a different pitch and it's a different team and whatnot, but I would keep doing what we're doing from Boxing Day. Whether that's Dean Wilkins, who has come in and has put that approach in, I don't know, but I would certainly keep with it. I've been really impressed with it. And look, you don't go to Cheltenham and pick up a point and beat Cambridge at home playing that way if we're not a good side. So I'd keep playing that same way. And obviously, look, the players have obviously been working that way recently in training as well. So I'd keep with that.
Me so much was Cambridge played the flat 4-4-2 as well, and I think everyone could agree for the most of the game we was comfortable and probably the better side, so that was quite funny.
Yeah, I completely agree. But look, again, boys, get a win Saturday, 20 points from 20 games. I think we would have all bitten your arm off for that, considering our start, wouldn't we, to be honest? My God. But really good to go through that, boys. And obviously, just one more thing as well. It was quite nice to end 2020 with a win. After the year we've had, and hopefully we start 2021 with a win. So that would be nice. Can I just ask a question? Can I just ask a question? Actually, I just really want to ask a question.
Go.
When was the last time we won back-to-back league games? Because I cannot tell you this. When was the last time?
Must have been the Maria run, mustn't it?
Was it when we beat Port Vale? Was it one of those games where we won back-to-back games?
I think we did Port Vale and Mansfield in consecutive weeks. It was one. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, because it's been a long time.
We technically beat Hull and Port Vale.
Technically,
season, but
in 90 minutes.
In terms of back-to-back league games, you're going back to Port Vale, Mansfield.
I was thinking about this the other day. It would be pretty cool. It would be good for the players to mentally get that win in the bag on Saturday as well.
It'll be massive for mentality. You can only hope they can kick on.
I'm excited, boys. We're competitive for something this season. Oh, feels so much better. Okay, boys. Quick discussion. Obviously, we've got the questions coming in. Obviously, we know our position in League 2. Bit gutting that we can't be back anytime soon to be at the Lanix watching our beloved Stevenage Football Club. Are we in tier? Are they keeping us in tier 4? Do we can't go back?
Yeah, they're just sticking loads more people in tier 4.
75% of the country's in tier 4. The rest are in tier 3. No more fans.
Yeah. A little bit. Well, I guess this is why the wins are really important as well.
Oxford's vaccine. There might be some hope for not just attending games, but attending full capacity games by the end of the season.
Wow. So maybe we might be able to do an away day.
That is just a hope. So.
That's a hope, isn't it? But again, I think the season will look, there's been discussions about the season not finishing. I think also it's important to get the wins just if it goes down to a points per game basis. I think the season will end. It would be nice to go to, obviously, to get back to seeing Stevenage play at the Lanix like we did a few weeks ago, but some away days as well would be really 100%. Nice this season. Do you know what I mean?
Let's go away nights out, Tyler.
Because we had Exeter booked in a few weeks, but I don't think that's going ahead.
Somehow,
is it?
Not.
We'll have to cancel that before the refund. I don't know. Okay, fellas, questions. Question time. I like this time where we answer questions about our beloved Stevenage Football Club. Let's go through it. Callum Emerson sent in a question. Why do you think Alex Ravel isn't always starting list?
I assume it means not starting list. I mean, we could do a whole hour on Listy, couldn't we? Listy's... I like Listy a lot. I think there's a good player in there. He's been here, season and a half now. The issue with Listy is I still couldn't tell you what he is. I mean, he's not a winger, so please don't put him on the wing anymore, Alex Ravel, please. But when we're playing quite a simple system in 4-4-2, I'm not sure where Listy fits. I know he's signed to be a strike partner, so that is something that I'd like to see at some point. But Listy's a conundrum at the minute. I think there's a good player. I think against Cheltenham, what annoyed me was his pressing. It wasn't as probably high as it could have been. But yeah, Listy's got a big question mark over him at the minute on how he contributes to this team. But I still think he could play a huge part because I think he's a good player and B, probably one of our better tactical weapons. So we can
I think I like that answer. I think he's a really talented player. I think at the minute, I don't start him at the minute because I think there's players there like Aitchison and Tom Pett and now Charlie Carter who's had two really good performances in the last 2 games, and I just favour those players at the minute. Doesn't mean I don't think Listy can come back into the team soon. I just think with what I've seen on Boxing Day and last night, I've played him.
We'll see a team with Elliot Listy starting week in, week out. But right now, why would you start him? And that's no disrespect. Possibly as kind of that inside forwards role Carter played Tuesday, but why would you drop Carter after that?
Exactly. I don't see a place for him at this minute in the starting 11. Again,
the only one that I could possibly put a question over is Newts, but there's so many competitors for that role, and there's probably 1 or 2 coming in January for that role. So
yeah, there's no doubt over his ability because we all know there's the player there. We all know there's the player that did what he did in League One and obviously showed flashes of. It's just there's no point in changing if we have to change the system to bring him in, then there's no point in it. He will be rotated in and out. But
what
I personally think going forward, Carter and Newts up top seems to be the way to go. But though, as I said, I wouldn't complain if one of Ote or Payman.
The thing is since Newts has come back in, and since Ote's played, but since Newts has come back in, the team has started to get results, and it's a very brave decision as a manager to take a player out where the team have been getting results recently with him in it and to start someone else. It's a very brave decision to make. Okay, Danny Newton's not sitting here and he's got 6 goals in the bank, but he's been very effective in what he's done on the pitch. He's led from the front, he's won his headers, he's getting shots off, he's working hard. You know, one thing that I've been really impressed with the last 2 games is a sense of identity again. And I felt we lost that through October and a little bit at the start of November. But you can see that a little bit of identity come back, the way that we're now pressing again in those final areas of the pitch. And Danny Newton's been a real pinpoint at that as well. So it's a very brave decision to take him out and shove Listy in there, because if it doesn't work out, you not only have you ruined Danny Newton's momentum, you've also ruined the team's momentum as well. So it's a tricky one, but I just think with Listy, great talent. I'm sure he'll get back in the team. But currently, at this moment in time, I think there's other players there that should be playing instead.
Yeah, I also think people will be fed up of hearing identity, but it's a key thing. That we need to have one, and I know we've said it more than once this season that we think, we have an identity now. We're going back to our what we planned at the beginning of the season, but the thing is, the identity has always been there, in where we can do a mix of long balls and passing around the midfield and high pressing. That's always been the identity. That whenever we've done that, it's worked. Whenever we have obviously got when things have been tactically right, we play the right formation. That's where we've got our most success from, and that does seem to be high pressure. And just the basics of football, sticking with a 4-4-2, and sticking with that seems to be our identity, which will push us forward, and hopefully it will keep us moving for the rest of the season.
What I would say about Listy is I wouldn't be surprised if he's one to be shipped, not because he's one of the ones that needs to be shipped in Jan, but I feel in terms of Listy needs to get minutes. He was getting semi-regular minutes in League One, and B, he's probably our most profitable player. If you put all our players on the transfer market, the most bids probably and the biggest money probably goes towards elite list. So it'll be interesting. I hope Listy has a place in the side eventually, but he's got a few question marks over him at the minute, elite list.
There's too many players in the starting 11 that are starting to perform.
As we said, there's got to be 1 or 2 strikers or 3 or 4 attacking players that are coming in. We've got to get rid of quite a few attackers. It's not rocket science. So
do you know what though? I do like that in the sense where we've started this season, we've had this team, and we've worked, and we've had 3 months, and we're in this position, and now we're saying, right, we want to now bring in some new faces in January. I like that because it shows that he's been trying to mould somewhat of his team together. Sees a few weaknesses. We need to strengthen up on a few areas, and he's doing something about that in January. I like that rather than leaving it going, no, I've signed these players. He's thinking, no, bring some new faces in, and it's good management.
The mini question that kind of developed from that is well, obviously we need a striker, but where are these 4 to 5 players playing, and then who do you kind of try to ship out? Because I said it, I think 2 weeks ago on the podcast, who do you get rid of the window? And we're going, Innie, and maybe Arthur and loan. If we're bringing 4 to 5 in, we probably need to ship more than 5.
Yeah. Do you know what I think will happen? I think he will look at the players. I think it's actually quite clear. The players that haven't necessarily been in the squad recently, I think, will be the players that are shipped. Back in one day, Dinanga. Although I like Dinanga, and I think Dinanga is actually a place in the. Yeah, this is the this is the strange thing. I actually think there's a real good place with Denanga in the side. I thought when he played really well. I have a real worry that he's going to be shipped out because where's he gone? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's happened to Femi? I can understand Femi being shipped in. He's had to make a big step up. But although I've been somewhat impressed with Femi in the games, but he hasn't been involved. So I can see a few players going out. But this is the ultimatum. Phil Wallace said in the programme notes, it's very hard to attract players when we're in the position we're in. So who are these 4 or 5 players? Because
Revs
you're saying that.
Revs isn't stupid. Revs has given him a wish list. Revs hasn't, put Sarcevic and Paul Mullin and these type of players at the top of his list. He's chosen players that are probably desperate to play minutes.
Wouldn't be surprised if they're loan boys.
I don't think they'll be conference players. I imagine there might be a free agent or two. I mean, Phil Wallace mentioned loans, but we have 5 loans in at the minute, and you're only allowed 5 in a match day squad. So that might be interesting. Could we sign one of the loanees on a perm? But it's very interesting. But
we need to be careful with those loans as well, because the thing about because we're building a new project and we're trying to build a team, not just for this season, but for the future at our Stevenage Football Club, it's very important that we don't sign too many loan players, because if we don't sign those loan players permanently after their loan deals and all of those loan players go back, we're then left with a massive gap in the team to fill again. And I don't want us to be in a position where we've got all these loan players. We don't get to sign any of them permanently. They all go back to their parents' side, and then we're left with all these positions again. And it's like, we've just built a really good side. A lot of these are loan players, never want to go back. I don't want to be in a position where we're signing loads of loan players.
Yeah, we can't just rely on the loan signings. Obviously, we know the likes of Reed, he will go back. He's clearly a player in there.
Jack Aitchison, Barnsley wanted Jack Aitchison to play, wasn't he?
Yeah, he'll go back, but okay, we want him.
Jack Aitchison is not a championship player.
Yeah, but this is it, isn't it?
If he has a good enough spell here, I can't. And we pay up, which I admit is unlikely. I don't think it's impossible. I think Arthur Reed is more than possible. Hutton is more than possible. They're getting rid of the academy, Birmingham.
See, how long did Barnsley extend Aitchison's contract for?
Well, but the way Barnsley do transfers is they have all these stats, they put them together, and whoever ranks top, they sign. Doesn't matter who, and then they line them out. That's just how their system works. They go for the best players in this position, and wherever they may be from, and kind of do it that way round. So it's a bit like Brentford in that sense.
Yeah,
but
it's a really important one, because you can normally tell a story for how long they extend their contract to. If Barnsley have just have offered him say 1 year, I think there's quite a good opportunity where we can actually sign him.
Bar coming, obviously. Yeah. I think we can sign the other 4.
Like, for example, if Barnsley...
I'm not saying we should. I think the only one I'd definitely go, right, let's see if we can do it there, is Arthur Reed.
I'd certainly want to keep Aitchison after Reed, personally. And also if Remy Ote starts to score goals.
But I'm not sure how much cash we have.
It's a bit like Remy Ote as well. He's not a championship level player, I wouldn't say. Remy Ote is championship level.
I don't know how big our budget is.
Well, this is how you know. This is how you know.
Less than the summer one.
Yeah.
So I feel we shouldn't waste all that money. For example, Aitchison could have only been given a 1 year. Yeah. He's a free agent in 6 months.
Yeah. Well, this is it. This is how you know. Compare Remy Ote with Ilias Chair.
Chair was always a champion.
Yeah, I know. You see the levels now. I don't look at Remy Ote and go, he's new Ilias Chair. With no disrespect, do you know what I mean? So
he's not going to go back and stop.
The question kind of branches.
Do you know what?
If we brought 4 players in, who are you bringing in? I've got 1 striker, a winger, and a central midfielder in mind.
Do you know what? God's honest truth, I actually think a lot of these loan players might actually sign. because if you go through the list, all right, maybe Jamie Cumming, maybe Chelsea will want Jamie Cumming back.
Yeah, Jamie Cumming won't be off.
Yeah. I don't think Jamie like that. You know, he's been around the Chelsea shop, but I think he'll probably play for Chelsea down the line, right? So I think obviously that one's out the window. But let's go through them, right? Arthur Reed, really good player, but his parent is Brentford. Would he start for Brentford?
Brentford team.
I don't think he gets in the Brentford team, right? I think we'd sign him. Jack Aitchison. Now, there's potential down the line for him. He plays for Celtic, so he's obviously a very talented player. But currently, is Jack Aitchison a championship level player? I don't think so. At the minute, I don't think so. Maybe down the line, but not currently, right?
And the good thing about them is they're enjoying this environment.
They are, yeah, and they seem like they're getting on really well. Remy Ote, not a championship player. I wonder if we've signed a lot of these players, and something behind the scenes suggests that possibly we will actually sign these players down the line.
There's
possibly
on some of them.
Maybe there's contracts to sign in the clause. Possibly, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. A bit like Luke Freeman almost, isn't it?
But
we've got Luke Freeman.
I'd be absolutely desperate and go and possibly bid for in the window is Arthur Reed. Yeah,
definitely. And this is why I think we'll sign these players, because they're not the level where the parent club is. So I think we've got a good chance there. Very interesting discussion. We'll quickly fly through these last couple of questions for this because we've been going for a bit. Next question, Danny Loveby, really good question. This really want to talk about this. Do you think Dean Wilkins has made an impact in his last couple of games? Yes, 100%. Do you know what's really weird, right? When these assistant managers come in, I'm normally a sucker for it. I struggle sometimes to see what they do, and there's been some in the past where you can obviously see the sudden influence. Automatically, in 2 games, Boxing Day and last night, I've seen massive amount of difference since he's been here. The way that we played on both games, Boxing Day and last night, the setup that we played with, and the instruction to the team. All 3 of those things I could see from the last 2 games of the impact that Dean Wilkins has had behind the scenes. And to notice that after just 1 or 2 games is really positive. And I'm very happy with that appointment.
Well, we all heard Wilkins, didn't we? On the iFollow, you can really hear him. I don't think you could have got 2 more polar opposites than Lenny Lawrence and Dean Wilkins. And the things I noticed were certain traps to kind of think the opposition they're in this thing, but we're defending solidly, like letting Cambridge counter, but then overloading the middle. I said the thing about Jamie Cumming and things like this, and it's good when you have not nice men, because I'm sure they do their fair load of shouting in Revs and Mark, to have quite an angry man on the touchline that will say, "What the fuck are you doing?" And that kind of thing, I think it's a good balance of personalities. And yeah, it's just the small things for me. The organisation we had, the small traps we were set in. I mean, that spell after half time, I mean, this is credit to Revs as well, I suppose. That spell after half time on Tuesday was brilliant. That 25 minute spell. Oh, that was probably the best we played. I really like the way that we, at times, we switched up the play. There was moments this season where we've been a little bit too direct, and we've just been a little bit easy to guess, really, of what we're going to do. But what I really liked last couple of games, there were passages of play where we got on the ball, and he was using, what I really liked, the fact that we used both Jack Smith and Arthur Reed as our 2 playmakers to get on the ball and shift the ball into the lines. But then there was times when we were unpredictable, when we played a few balls long to Danny Luton. So I really like the way that we mixed up the play at times, and we weren't too predictable as we've been the last 3 months. We played different ways and different passages of play. It made us very difficult to read. I was very impressed the way that with Dean Wilkins has arrived. Very good setup there. And let's not bullshit ourselves here. He's a very experienced guy in football. He's been around the block, as they say. So,
I think he's a very credible appointment for us, and it'll be interesting to see how we do with him in these 2 really important months coming up for us.
And honestly, experience doesn't always matter, because obviously you see with Graham Wesley how well that works out. If you have experience, but you keep up with the times, if you have experience with adapting to different situations as football's transition, which, without sounding rude, he would have gone through a few where football's transitioned and, changed really. So he's clearly experienced in adapting teams to different styles, and it seems to be we're doing the same now, because part of the success rate was, I was just pointing out last game, was 89% after each was. That's just insane. I know that's just one player, but it did seem a bit more average across the board. It was not. It wasn't up and down over the last last night and Saturday. It's just a lot better. It just seems more consistent. I know it's only 2 games, and it could be quite early to say. A bit too early to say that, but there does seem to be a difference, and there's similarities between the two, and that, as I've said many times, just got to hope we keep it up, because we do he has instilled an identity and an actual style of play which we were missing. We've been missing 90% of this season. So
I agree with you. Last question, fellas. We'll do this really quickly. From Nathan Smith, do you think this could be a turning point that takes us mid-table this season?
Let's hope so.
Do you know what? It's a really difficult one to answer, because how many times
we've had this question
have we gone? Didn't we? Yeah, how many times have we had in the last year and a half after a win? This could be the turning point of the season. My answer to it is we'll only really know after really the next month of games if it is a turning point. We've got 4 points in 2 games, and in the last 6 games we've only lost 1 game. So we're obviously shown a bit of progress and a bit of an improvement. But really, for me now, we've got the win last night, big 1-0 win at home. This Saturday's important. The home match against Tranmere is important. January and February are vital months for us. And as we know, a lot of points are won in those 2 months going into the Easter period. So I think we'll know in the next month of games if it is a turning point. I do believe that we will start to win games and pick up more points, because with players like Jack Aitchison and Tom Pett, with all the stats that we've spoke about tonight, I believe that we've got a real good opportunity now to stay up and keep Stevenage in the Football League again for next season. So it will be interesting. I'm excited for the journey, and I'm excited to see this team evolve over the last 5 months of the season.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with you there. Yeah. It's just about waiting and seeing. I think we're all fairly confident we'll stay up, and this year is just about that. But it'd be nice to have a team we enjoy watching from now.
Yeah,
and I think
I completely agree.
I do think mid-table is quite bold, but I'd say hopefully we'd pick up some mid-table form and finish. I'd want us to finish above 22nd, but I would take it at the end of the day, because it means we're staying up.
Oh, but yeah, I'll take 22nd and up.
I'd take it, but ideally I'd want us to be above 20th, so there is a platform to build off.
Do you know what would be great as well? There's nothing like seeing Stevenage in League 2, and it would be awesome next season to go and support our Stevenage Football Club in League 2 and be able to go home and away. That's why I'm so motivated for us to stay up, so that we get that opportunity next season, because we've just out it this year. It would be really cool. I really hope we do it. I'm sure we will. Boys, that was good fun tonight. Did you enjoy that?
No, always do.
That was a bit fun tonight. It's been going a while.
It's actually somewhat positive as well. It's really fun.
Look, last podcast of 2020. We're going into 2021 with real positivity that our beloved Stevenage can stay up and do the job this season. Boys, absolute pleasure tonight. We will be back next week for episode number 14, hopefully discussing Bury's another home win, I should say, at home, which has hopefully got us out the bottom 2. Next week, we will be doing a New Year's quiz as well on the podcast. And we'll be having a quiz. there might be a few prizes on offer as well.
I'm interested now.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
For listeners, there might be some hopefully some borough prizes, and we'll get some crates of beer as well, and a bit of alcohol, and auction off some prizes as well, and the quiz. So it should be good fun. We'll do the questions on Don Borough this season. Be really, really interesting to see how well people do. So we'll have that next week. But boys, thank you ever so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure with you today. Really, really enjoyed it. Thank you to all the listeners. Oh no, absolute pleasure. Thank you to all the listeners for listening. And fingers crossed for a big win for us.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, yeah. And hopefully we can go into not just Borough doing well on the pitch, but also COVID as well. Hopefully we'll be past that as well. Thank you to all the listeners. You have been listening to the Stevenage Football Club podcast.